client's account to find out who the authorized people are. Like it's one of those, it's a not-for-profit. So every year it's the president that signs the tax return. So I think we've lost note of who is actually, oh, look, you're live on Facebook.
You're live.
Is there any
so
way that
how about start the question all over again then?
Okay. So on represent a client, I can log into my client's account, but I want to find out who has the authority to talk to the CRA. Is there any place on here which will give me a list of authorized people?
There is.
Depends on your level too.
Yeah, it depends on
your level of
one,
access.
Level 1s don't.
I think you have
to. Level 2s, I'm not too sure. It's only 3s? Okay.
And Kathy, you're muted.
Oh, Kathy, you're muted.
Sorry, level 3 allows you to make changes, which means you would be able to see who was there.
And level 3, you unfortunately cannot get level 3 if you're using like profile or anything to file the new authorize a business, whatever they're called, those new forms. They don't have level 3, because I used to get all the clients that sent me as level 3, and now that's only level 1 and level 2 through the new forms.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure I don't have level 3, so.
Okay. So seeing how we just started and we jumped right into the question because we went live when Stacey was asking her question, we will now introduce ourselves. So we'll start with myself, Tanya Hiltz from Cloud Bookkeeping Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. And Deb, you were next.
Deb Fletcher. I'm located in Colorado. I specialize in e-commerce and sales tax, especially for the toughest state in the union, sales tax wise, which is Colorado. Next.
Lillian, I think you were next, Lillian, and then Kathy, I think. You guys came in real close together, I think.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lillian Larson, located in Boston, on the other side, I guess you could say. So my business is Larson Bookkeeping Services, and we specialize in attorneys, professional services, and the logistics business. How about that for a combo?
That's awesome. All right, Kathy.
I'm Kathy Battery of CSB Creative Business Solutions in Edmonton, Alberta. I specialize in way too many weird things, so I guess I don't really specialize. No, I do NPOs and healthcare related client bases, and anybody who's a sole prop. They're my favorites.
Awesome. Okay, and then we had Stacey.
I'm Stacey Stanley Young from Stanley Young Business Strategies. I'm located in Winnipeg, Canada, and I don't know. I'm kind of like Kathy. I don't really specialize in anything, but I specialize in everything. I like NPOs and charities, and I like the small sole props, and really the starters, or as we term them, the baby bunnies.
And if I got you guys out of order, I'm sorry. It was intentional, trying to keep track of who came in when. I just really need to start going in order that I see you on my screen. That's easier to remember. So anyway, we had Jennifer next.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Solon. My company, Time Advantage Accounting Solutions. I'm on a Red Deer. Basically, I guess I specialize in T1 tax returns and T2s. And then, of course, I do bookkeeping to fill out the rest of the year, but I would prefer to just do T1s and T2s for small businesses and small corporations.
Awesome. And then Carol, you were next.
Hi, I'm Carol Kosterchuk. My company is Carol On Call Office Assistants. I'm here in Maple Ridge, BC, where it's sunny outside right now. And my dog is the one whining behind me because she smells my food. I don't actually have a niche. I have been with a large client for the last 22 years, which I just pulled the trigger and launched the grenade on Friday night. Not my intention to do on a Friday night, but 17 Hats said, you're doing it. So I am actually
I'm so proud of 17 Hats for forcing you.
Yeah, it was that, you have the little workflow 0 days before sending, and I hit save, and I was going to send it Monday morning, but yeah, anyways. So no, I'm in the middle of launching a new business venture with an accountant. I have been working with Liaison for the last 22 years, and now through long story short, he's taking me on for however much extra hours or little hours I want to take. So I've already started one contract with them, and will grow to fill up that difference of what I had in the other company that I'm not going to have anymore.
It is so true. When one door closes, another one opens.
Mhm.
And
Well,
Lily
that was what helped me close that door.
Well, exactly. But Lillian was even mentioning that, and that's what the second time she emailed me about it. Second time that's happened to you, that
Everybody, are you happy?
big client goes and you get new ones.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh! The hair looks just like yours.
Yeah, see, like mommy, like baby.
And then Bianca, last but not least, yay! You
Hi.
again.
Yeah, my name is Bianca, Books by Bianca, located in Burnaby, BC, Canada. And I used to just pick up all these little clients, and I'd have all these little clients strung along, and I sort of revamped my business about 6 years ago, and now I just take on like 4 major clients, and they're all really big, and I still have like some quarterly and annual like review sort of things, little audit stuff for tax and government remittances that I'll do for a couple small clients, but for the most part I just have a few big clients on the go right now. So yeah.
Nice. And you've got a different background. Is that your office in your new house?
Yeah.
Usually you're in the living room or you're outside or.
Totally. Yeah, no, I just sort of, starting to, obviously I used to go to clients' offices just like a couple days a week. So now I'm at home full time. So I, just made my space more permanent. So
Awesome. Well,
I like the flexibility of being able to work from home because I have a young family, obviously. And, but I like people. So for me, I liked planning what day I was going to go out. And it was really only 2 days a week, maybe 3 if there was some anomalies or something. But yeah, so I miss leaving the house.
Yes, but you're nice and healthy though. And if you were to leave the house and not take your son to go visit grandma, I'm sure you would hear about it.
I'm hearing about it regardless.
Yep.
So there's a question that's been just put out that Brandon's asked, and I don't know the answer to this, but hopefully somebody here does. Kathy, this sounds like something you might know the answer to. I know, she's like, don't pick on me. So Brandon saw this question in another group, and he wants to know, does anybody here print on blank check stock? And do you use MICR toner? He's been thinking about doing this, but wasn't too sure about the MICR toner.
Why is anybody
security
printing
related?
checks?
That's why I'm thinking you were security related.
Yeah, I haven't printed checks in 20 years.
I saw that come up in a recent.
Checks are such a bad
post.
thing.
Yeah. Now with everybody getting routing account numbers, I would not advise anybody to do checks.
No.
It's the last.
And definitely not printing on blank stock.
Well,
no.
I've done that in the past myself, and it didn't work. It wasn't that bad.
But just when you add in the fact that you can get everybody's routing numbers from wherever.
That's right.
Right? And make up whatever you want, and away you go. I mean, they've shown so much, and here's Kathy's back on her security soapbox, right?
That's why I thought that you might have something to say. It looked like Stacey had something to say because her hand kind of went up. She's waiting. But okay, go ahead, Kathy.
But it is very much a security issue. When you look at fraud, checks are the number one form of fraud that happens in most businesses, whether it's intentional or not. Right. And it's so huge. So if a company can go away from not actually issuing checks, not only does everything clear your bank easier and quicker and simpler, you are also reducing your fraud risk.
Well, and also on that, if you pay electronically, you have an avenue to back charge, to say, okay, you've paid for services and now that party hasn't produced those services. You can do a back charge and get your funds back, like using PayPal or any of them. And you are pretty much guaranteed as the customer paying that you're going to get your money back. And with a check, once you've sent it, they've cashed it, you are done, whether you get results or not.
Exactly. $5 in your e-transfer can be reversed.
Yes.
True. Good point.
I think a lot of charities and not-for-profits are struggling right now because of the dual signatures and quick to overturn on board members, and those are the types of businesses that are really struggling to get away from checks right now, because they're not even able to get to banks and get board members to sign on, and you don't have access, like certain credit unions you cannot do 2 authorizations for bill payments online. So there's all these missing links right now with charities and not-for-profits.
Yeah.
So years ago, to actually answer the question that was asked, years ago, we had a very secure way of having the check stock, and then we did have to use the separate toner, because the toner had to have the micro embedded blah blah blah, whatever. It was expensive. That's what I remember about that toner, is it was really expensive. But for all of the reasons that was said, go electronic. And for my not-for-profits and my charities, actually for everybody, we use Pluto. I don't know if it's available in the US as well as Canada. It has been brilliant. And we have one of our charities that has, as far as the bank is concerned, any 2 can sign of 4 signers. But internally, we have a policy that it has to be 1 employee and 1 volunteer. So out of the 4 people, you have 2 employees and 2 volunteers. And so in Pluto, we've actually been able to lock that down, where any one of the 2 employees or any one of the 2 volunteers can do it. So we actually had almost better control using that electronic method. And we didn't have to drive into the office to sign the check. Like it has
So
really.
I have a question, because like, what do you do when people come off signing authority? Do you have to reset up all of the remote authorizations and get different approvals back to the bank?
Well, you adjust you adjust the signing authority in Pluto, because that's not necessarily connected to the bank.
I know, and that's where the big problem is for me, is you adjust it in the approval software, but it does not change at the back end on the bank.
Well, see, I won't change it in the approval software until we've changed it at the bank. That's my policy.
But you can, and it's crazy.
Yes.
But you need to follow your own internal controls, and that's what your audit process is at the end, whether or not you actually followed your internal controls, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there are banks, and it all depends which bank you deal with. And I know credit unions are kind of the crazy ones out there. But I mean, even within different banks, you can set up your authorization process so that it can be very detailed as to who can approve what, even for levels, right? So in my NPOs, we have crazy rules like Stacy, right? ED can do up to here, and then from here to here, it has to be ED and a board member, and then if it's over here, then it has to be 2 board members, and all of those steps and pieces. Some of it you can automate, but some of it you can't. There's just no physical way of doing that. But I find that the apps make it a whole lot easier to make that happen.
Okay, and then Susan she typed in online, same thing. She does a lot of MPOs. She says we moved a couple of MPOs to Pluto, which allowed them to do multiple authorizations for their payments. So some big ones still need signatures, but the smaller ones don't necessarily need the authorization. So you can have different authorization levels as well too, just for the sign into Pluto and whatnot. And that really helped them get rid of the checks. So she agreed completely with you. She said, just like Stacey mentioned. And I know, so what are the options we have in Canada? There's Pluto, which is now kind of changed their pricing structure, which is a flat fee that covers so many. We have WayPay, which is pay per use, or a flat fee that covers many. We have
Telpay.
Telpay, Veeam. And then for the states, you've got Bill.com, Pluto's there. And you guys have way more options than we have. What other options do you have?
I like Telpay because you can have 2 authorizations as well.
Yeah.
We can talk about that, Bianca, if you need to.
Oh no, I fully, that's what I use Telpay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I was just saying, for like options out there, like we're kind of, our hands are tied a lot in the not-for-profit sector on the payment side.
I've
And
used
so what other ones
Roger.
do you guys have in the States, Lillian or Deb?
So I use Roger. It's like a build.com, but I find it's a lot easier to use, and it's it's a lot more economical too. And their customer service is great. I did use build.com. They're good. They're great at what they do, but it was just customer service wise, it was tough for me.
Right.
So
I've
Roger's
heard that.
wonderful. Yeah, a great product, just hard to get anybody. Circulus is also very good on a smaller base. And then if you still like checks, there's something called CheckFlow. I think actually they're a Canadian company.
Okay.
And there's an approval process. So if your clients actually like to see the physical check coming through the bank account, it'll put everything in there. It's awesome. It's really nice and easy to use. I have a client that does that. And it's a physical check that's almost like bank checks that are done when you go in and do a bill pay. It's very similar to that.
And there's actually another company they deal with on large scale, and I can't remember the name of them. We did a webinar with them probably about 6 months ago, and I can't remember their name, but they're only in the States. But it was on a large base. It basically you had to have large volume because, you were looking at a minimum of $50 a month, I think. So it was large volume companies. I can't remember their name though for the life of me.
Let me look that up. Now you got my curiosity.
I'll look. You know what? I'll see if I can go back through the webinars. It's on my YouTube channel, so I know it's there. It's sometime in the fall. But yeah, I think like everybody else said, I would do the same. I still have my checks, but the only thing I think I write them for is our rent receipts or like our rent checks, and I post date them and send them off because they only accept e-transfer or a post-dated check. And if I have them give me and sign off that I've given them all checks and they don't cash it in time, that's not on me. If I get busy and forget to send the e-transfer, that's on me. That's the only reason I do that. So I've still got the original 200 checks that came with my bank account from a couple of years ago. And I think I've used 20.
Crazy.
And
They
I've
won't
got one.
take EFT? You can't
No.
post. Oh my.
Well, I just get so busy. I don't want to have to worry about it. Right.
Yeah.
So I just send them a year's worth or I hand it to them directly anyway that's for the new place that we went to. I just gave it to them and said, here, take it, give me a receipt, and then it's up to you.
Speaking of commercial rents, what does everyone think about Trudeau this morning?
I'm glad that it's come because I've had a lot of clients that really have been antsy for it. I don't know what it's going to look like. What I did hear, Sherry Lee Mather said she was reading into it this morning, and she said that it'll be very similar to the CUs or the Qs, however we're pronouncing it, that it'll be based on, a certain percentage of revenue decrease.
But how are you supposed to prove your tenants' revenue decrease?
That's what's interesting. So for you US guys or people or anybody, colleagues, not people, guys, and then anybody else out there who isn't quite aware of that is, Trudeau said that he's worked with all the provinces and that there will be rent relief coming, the Canadian Emergency Rent something. Fund, whatever, support fund, something like that. I can't remember what we just have so many CE blank. That's a lot of CEs, but that it'll be up that you can, if you've got a significant decrease, I can't remember exactly what wording he used, but a large or significant decrease in your sales or in your business, then you can claim 75% of your rent. 50% will be covered by the government, 25% by the landlord. So you're right, it's really interesting. And that Susan says, plus all provinces have to be aligned, which he said this morning that they all were aligned, Susan. But the landlords still get to decide if they're going to offer this. So exactly, I don't know. Are they going to force the landlords? Are they going
and it's available retroactively? Because I have a huge commercial tenant, and we did give rent relief, COVID rent relief to our affected tenants for April, and then we decided to give a rent relief for May and defer that payment over the next year. And so I don't know. Now they're all going to be like, well, what are we going to do going forward? And are they going to apply for this subsidy? And it's payable to the mortgage. So It's
So-
not even. Yeah. Anyways, I
Even
screenshot.
yeah, because Deborah just said 70%. So you guys in BC obviously are getting more information than I got today. No, mind you, I haven't had a chance to look too much into it. But so Deborah says she'll join next time. I'd love to have you on here, Deborah, but she's just working and listening in the moment. But yeah, so if it's the landlord that's covering it, and Susan said
The landlord has to be willing to participate. I've already got one client wondering what to do because he asked the landlord for any relief at all. And the guy said, nope, want my money.
well, see what I initially heard.
Period.
Yeah, Susan saying that, yeah, she was told it was the landlord's choice. But what I had heard initially about a week and a half ago was what they were looking at was doing, and of course, maybe that's changed, maybe that'll be part of this, who knows, is they were looking at doing a loan to the landlord with the portion forgivable if they passed on not a deferral, but a rent forgiveness in portion to the tenant. So it's possible that that's how this will come about, that they can get 50% back from the government as long as they prove that they're giving the tenant 75% discount if the two are tied together, or maybe it's a completely different idea. Who knows these days?
What happens if that tenant, then you get, okay, so you're the landlord and you give them this rent reduction and you're going to assume that they meet the criteria and eligibility requirements of the reduction, the reduced revenue due to COVID, disruptions, pandemic.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they don't qualify. And you're the commercial, who's paying you back?
I would think there would have to be, like, I'm just thinking like as an auditor, because that's my biggest, I've been dealing with audits since 1997, right? So I would think there would have to be an audit trail somewhere that I would think that the rentees would have to have like some type of documentation, maybe from their bookkeeper on their books. But the concern, oh, here's your mom joining us. But then the concern is, of course, not everybody went, who's mom? I think it was all obvious.
Oh. Sorry.
My mother. Yeah.
But it's, a 70% drop. Sorry, Deborah's just updating. A 70% drop, not a 30% drop, a 70% drop will get them. So what about those who had a 50% drop and who don't have, hello, Diane.
Hi, what did you do, Bianca? You're looking very guilty.
I'm asking questions.
She said, hi, Mommy, how are you?
Nobody has answers to.
She's asking great questions, and it's all speculation right now, though.
Yeah. They're jealous that she has her mother.
I just checked the CRA website and they still say more details will be available soon.
Yeah. And then they'll need to pass it. And it's going to be
not written
away.
into law yet, right?
No.
So, I mean, my concern is, I think this is great. I think 70%, okay, if you have employees, you're getting, the 75% back, you're getting the 10% back, which of course is not double dipping, but, one reduces the other. You've got the loan, you're still in business, you're thinking of creative ways, you've got your 10,000 forgivable. I get that there's some businesses that won't be hit too hard by it. But my concern is it's still the mom and pop shops, 75% of any businesses in our downtown cores of any town, any smaller town or smaller size city in all of North America will not survive because they don't have payroll. They, made enough money on their business to pay their personal and their business. They have high rent because they're downtown. And they're bringing in, if they're Canada, they're bringing in their CERB, which will help pay their personal bills, but it's not going to help with their business. No. And so if they've had to have a 70% drop, what happens if they're essential and they're still open and they're at a 60% drop or a 50% drop? I mean, lots of concerns there. I hope.
Well, I just don't get how a landlord's gonna be like, okay, let me talk to your accountant. Can they give me your income statement? Like, those figures aren't even going to be accurate for at least another month, like until their revenues are all received and reconciled. Like, it's just what do you expect?
They'll have to.
It's a privacy issue.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, no, they're going to have to fill out an application on the government website first, get approved, and then that approval will be handed to the landlord.
Yeah, but they're expecting the landlord, they were clear that they want May 1st to have understanding and forgiveness in place, and then the funds will be paid retroactively.
Yeah, that's right. And if they don't qualify, the landlord's going to be, what do you mean you don't qualify? I didn't get any rent for May, and now he's not going to get any rent. But
Exactly,
what
that was
happens
where
if
my
the landlord doesn't want to do that?
I don't think, well, once
it
it's,
says it's discretionary right now, but that could
Yeah.
change.
yeah.
Well, and the one thing too, when I sent out the email, I'm like, here's what he said, and I've got, anybody that saw my posting saw that, I don't even know, because the loan didn't have to go through legislation. So we don't know, does this have to, and I said that exact same wording out to my clients, details unknown, and we don't even know if this has to, pass through legislation or not. So, and
It
if
did.
it does,
I read on the news article this morning, because that's all we're really going off of. It's not on the CRA websites yet. And the
right.
news article said that the amounts would be payable to the bank or guarantor of the mortgage, not even to the landlord. So if you own your building, you're not even gonna, like, your tenant, like, how does that work?
That sounds like a lot of administration at the end.
I'm curious because I have a client who owns 4 units, like in four buildings in a whole unit thing, or 4 units in a building. And he holds the mortgage. He's like,
Personally
he
or
himself is the mortgagor to cover the payments.
Yeah,
And I
because
guarantee things like trusts and, all those things aren't going to be applicable.
I have exactly that same situation, Carol, that, the person that rents the building, one company that he works in rents the building from him. He owns the building.
And I've got 2 clients in the same situation, that they personally own the building and their corporation rents it.
Yeah.
Because they use the same accountant. The accountant told them to set it up that way. And now it's just, when they initially bought the building, and it's just too much in fees to flip it over. So they just left it that way.
Yeah.
Because their new accountant said, no, they should not have, that's not the suggested way to set it up. But yeah, I guess.
I'm just going to take this call.
Okay. So, but yeah, Susan agreed with you, Diane, and it does make the most sense as a way to administer it, because I think that if people thought they could get out of paying rent, even those that are doing their own books, they're more likely to, I don't want to say cook their books, but let's say print out a wrong report to their landlord, versus actually having to quantify that to Revenue Canada, who is actually seeing their numbers and can come in and do a proper audit. So I think that makes the most sense on that standpoint. But
in the meantime, the commercial tenant owner is being expected to forgive those rent payments.
Yeah.
And get reimbursed retroactively.
Because in reality, Bianca, they don't have a choice. It's not like that, like, what are they going to do? Kick somebody out? It's not like they're going to be able to re-rent it or anything. So, landlords are, sitting ducks in that sense right now, the same as all of us are. So they have to take their hits the same as we're all taking a hit.
Yeah, take a break, hope that it helps the business stay alive, so that you
can collect rent
for
again
a few months, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas if you're hard-assed, sorry, shouldn't swear on Facebook,
that's okay.
but if you're really strict about it, you could be the straw that breaks that company, and now you've got no tenant.
Yeah.
And there's like Diane said, there's nobody lining up to get into your space.
No. Well,
right?
and that's just like us looking after our clients, and they need to look after their tenants. I agree with that, but I tell you, I have one client who they've asked their landlord, and he has said no deferrals, no leniency, no nothing. And it's so we had that discussion saying, well, again, what's he going to do? Is he going to evict her? And then he's better off to work with her and know that she can still open when the world starts to return to normal, we start opening, than have it sit there empty, because there's not going to be a lot of new businesses that are going to be running to get commercial space after this.
It's that old saying,
businesses coming from this, I think they'll try to work in the cloud without brick and mortar.
It's that old saying, you can't get blood out of a stone.
Yeah.
Well,
but here's the problem. Those leases, I'm sure I've read many of them over the years, and I'm sure you guys have too. Those leases are so rock solid.
They're all going to
And
be
they're
in breach.
and they're all personally guaranteed. So the
Oh.
landlords can have that attitude about it because they know they're going to get their money down the road because we'll just sue you personally. And there's no way that that business owner is going to get out of that debt unless they declare bankruptcy. I've seen that happen so many times in those leases. They're just, you know, rock solid, you know,
Well,
110% for the landlord and not for the business owner.
and these rental forgiveness, I guess, because it stipulates that it doesn't have to be paid back, the government funded portion. And that's just based on the base rent, not the CAM or shared operating costs.
Yeah, triple net.
Yeah.
Not the triple net.
So,
yeah. That's true. But the good news this week, everybody saw that. Did everybody
What?
see that? They now
What?
actually decided that it is the net income for a sole
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
proprietorship. So that's a big deal for our industry. I was like really loving that as soon as I saw that. It's really clear now. It is your net income that you're looking at. And if that for any bookkeeper, hairdresser, any of them, I mean, there's so many IT specialists, all of that. If that net income is under 1,000, you now qualify for CERB. That's a big deal for a lot
Because it
of
allows
people.
them to keep their business going,
It does,
right?
big time.
I mean, and it is, you know, whether or not they're going to, you know, like I've got a client who's, you know, he's actually looking at expanding.
Yeah.
And he's, you know, going to bring on an employee. And it's like, be careful how much money you guys are making, right? As you're working, and how he's like, oh, okay, it's okay. I'll watch that. And I'm like, so this morning's, you know, text was, okay, now it's net income.
Yeah.
So we're going to be able to deduct whatever you paid to that employee, and that's going to be your net income. That you can...
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic that they finally cleared up the language on that one. Yeah. I was really thrilled to see that finally this morning.
Yeah, and Matthew Fulton's watching. Come join us live one of these times, Matthew.
Yeah.
He's saying, so he's saying, you know, lots, because of course anybody who knows Matthew knows that, you know, he's got lots to say in a good way too, Matthew, of course. But, you know, he says, actually, and I want to do a shout out to this. So he shared that he's first off very proud of his father. I think, you know, Mr. Fulton, like, you know, hearts out to you. So before California made it law that people could not be evicted, he approached each of his tenants and gave them 50% off their rent for the next 3 months, not deferred, fully forgiven. He needed the money, but he just did what he could to help them out. So that's awesome. And we need more people like, oh, look, Matthew's joining us. All I had to do was call him out. So hang on, here we go. And he can speak for himself. Matthew, hello. Here it is, recording it all.
I prefer to be called an opportunistic supplier.
My husband works at the toilet paper plant. Like he actually like manufactures it. So here in Canada, so we're good.
There you go. There you go.
New currency.
Anyways, actually, Matthew, what I want to say is I am not one bit surprised by your dad doing that. And it is obvious because look at the boy he raised.
Exactly.
Somebody that is constantly giving.
Exactly.
So,
I was thinking the same thing. And that's awesome. Like,
for
I'm
sure.
lucky. I'm really lucky to have had, you know, have great parents that have instilled proper morals and ethics into me.
No, and that's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I tell your dad much love from Canada. And that's awesome.
The apple didn't fall too far from that tree, Matthew.
No. Well, that's exactly. So, you know, anybody who knows Matthew knows, you know, he's constantly on, he's giving, he's trying to, like, he's an honorary boot camper too, but, you know, he gives back in the QB Life community, their own Facebook group, and just giving back everywhere he can. And so.
What's amazing to me is 2 different countries, and we're absolutely asking the exact same,
the
exact same questions. And it's just, there's, you know, I'll be the first person to admit that the person up at the Trump Tower is an idiot. I'll say that so we can get that out.
He trumped himself today. I have to say, he really did trump himself today. That was unbelievable. With the inject yourself with,
Yeah, that was
Still haven't heard her speak,
Yeah,
so I don't know if it was taken out of context. Try
So-
not to get political on these calls, right? So,
exactly. But
Now that wasn't political. That was just stupidity, Tanya.
but you're right, Matthew. We're all going through this. And I would love it if you've got the time, come join us more often, because I have to say, I feel very bad for Lillian and Deb, and we normally have Jessica too. They are so bombarded by the Canadians that we don't get to get a lot of American. And you're right, we're neighbors, we're family, we're all going through this. We've got the same concerns. So I think they would appreciate a little bit more, American view and
It
American.
would be more balanced for
We'll get
sure.
Linda on here
More
too.
balanced.
Exactly.
More balanced, yeah.
it's so important that we don't allow these circumstances to break down the barriers of connections and friendships that we have built already, right?
Oh,
So
for sure.
it's why I try where I can to pop in, because I'm sure, just like everybody else, we are so busy right now. I am really happy to share, and I share it this way, hopefully as motivation. We're getting like 2 or 3 new clients a week right now.
Wow, good for
So,
you guys.
Do you guys have like tax filing requirements in order to apply and qualify for certain subsidies?
So that's interesting, right? Of course, in the United States, they decided they waited till March 16th to announce that they were going to extend tax deadlines, because that was the day after S corps, everything else were due. Surprise, surprise. But then they extended everything. And then when it came out for the PPP information, especially sole proprietors, they're like, oh, well, you have to have your numbers from your 2019 tax returns.
Yeah.
What? You just told us we had till X amount of time, and we all been rushing around for this. So it's kind of a backhanded, compliment of like, hey, don't sleep. You don't need to sleep.
Here's something you won't be able to qualify for.
Yeah.
Well,
but it does take a lot of the questions that we've been talking about this morning out of the equation on how do you prove these loss in revenues? Who's to justify? Like, it does take a little bit of those answers out of those scenarios.
For now.
Oh, totally for now.
The biggest flaw that I see currently, and by the way, this is fully opinion, so anybody who watches this is not anything like guidance, fully opinion. The PPP, there's going to be huge lawsuits against all the banks. We already know that. No big deal. The way the loan forgiveness is going to be calculated down here it's a poop show. There is not a good understanding of FTE, full-time equivalent employees, and how that's going to be calculated, because the language talks about pay periods. You can't do pay periods. Their beginning date, February 15th, is a Friday. It's going to end up, I think it will get changed to check dates, which would make more sense. But they're not thinking far enough ahead to get to that part. And if you have to do these averages and all this, what if you had to run a final check run? Does that mess up your average? There's just so many loopholes there.
Yep.
That's scary. So we're
were
telling
glad to
everybody,
hear that.
you only accept this if you understand that this may be a 1% loan for 2 years. If you're okay with that, then keep proceeding forward. If you're not, there's no promises.
And this is what I've been saying, and I don't care what country you're from, because I think there's a lot of countries that are making the same mistakes. I get they're throwing stuff out there, trying to just and they're in reaction mode. But the people that they have advising them, they need not somebody who hasn't been dealing with the public for 20 years and who decided to get into politics. They need somebody like us who is down in the dirt every day with our clients, in that room with them, to help them to realize all of this stuff, because then maybe stuff could get sorted out a little bit sooner and come out with some type of clarity and, in a way that makes sense. If they have, again, somebody like us who's digging in that crap every single day with our clients, instead of somebody who is so far, so far, I can't even think of the word, removed. Thank you. I think we're all kind of brain dead these days with some things. We're all working on muscle memory, but yeah, that's.
Well, and none of my clients have qualified. They didn't get nothing. We went through the process. They got nothing. And it's like, so now, thank goodness, Square is offering it. QuickBooks is also offering it as well. But at least with Square, I got their notice today that says, you're being invited. Please go through us and do this now.
And you mentioned that before.
Yeah, they're doing all. They've got all the reports. So they're doing the filing for them. they've got all the reports because that's where I'm running the payroll from. They're doing it
Ah,
directly for these parties.
That's
Are
a
they
good
also
idea.
Oh, yeah.
And this-
Self-employed, or they're just doing? Are they doing the self-employed folks, or they
Not
also
the self-employed portion, but it's for the employees portion because I run payroll through Square. So they've got all the reports. They've got all the 940, 941s, everything that needs to be used to file. And so they're filing it for them.
And I love that there's a lot of companies that are stepping up these days. And I really think that our whole landscape is going to change drastically for those, those companies that are stepping up and those that aren't. I think we're going to, when this is all said and done, just like, our ideal clients might be changing, the client's ideal, accounting professional might be changing. And I think there's going to be a lot of loyalty that might change, shift from one to company to another that's actually stepping up and helping people through this instead of just being opportunists.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and like with Square, I'm sorry, I'm going to plug them again.
That's
They
awesome.
they canceled the charges for subscriptions for March and now April.
So 2 months in a row. Yeah, because you
Yeah, 2
mentioned that
months in a
before,
row.
and that's awesome.
I mean, you cannot beat that with the staff.
Actually, I got an email yesterday that Moneris did the same thing too, and Stripe, and
Did they?
yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah.
Good.
They're giving
I'm
back.
glad.
They're giving back 50% of the fees that I paid last month. Yeah.
I'm
This
surprised
is
that
what
like
people are going to remember.
Yes.
surprised that like Receipt Bank and stuff is not stepping up. Like
So
that's
quiet, eh? What is with that? So
Nothing.
quiet.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I know
anything.
people who have,
extremely disappointed in them.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people I know who have reached out to Receipt Bank, and
Yep.
they had to fight and claw just to get themselves dropped one level. So yeah, it's disappointing. And guess what? Forums like this, we're going to talk about. We're going to promote the good.
Yeah, I hope you're
we're gonna talk
listening,
about the
Receipt
others.
Bank.
Force them to. I'm still using them, but I have to say, if there's another product that comes out that matches, them, that I'm not, I've got the same efficiency, and that I see is a little bit more. This to me right now, I'm looking at my using Receipt Bank. It's strictly a business decision. It is not a loyalty decision, and
Yeah.
I will go with a loyalty decision over a business decision any day.
Every single person and company in the world right now is taking a hit.
Yeah.
And there is zero reason why they shouldn't be, because they're on a gravy train of automation.
Mhm.
And I know they're losing. A lot of people have canceled because of that. Matthew, you had something to say on?
Well, I just want to remind us real quickly. So I agree, and I applaud the companies that have taken the opportunity to bring discounts down, right, and do what they can. A lot of the accountants have been talking about out there, are they discounting their services, which is to be devil's advocate for it, right? But keep in mind, because certain companies are doing it, does not mean it's an obligation for all others to do it.
No, it's not.
Position.
They still have shareholders. Like, I don't know if they're in the public, but you've still got shareholders. You still have to look at that. I'm not discounting down my accounting services. Nobody has asked. I'm deferring. I've, as a matter of fact, I've upsold cheese so far, not meaning to. But what I am doing is I am giving them a ton of all of my strategic is all free. We were talking about this at Friday Night Live. I know you were listening to that, Matthew. And this is, there were some people out there that disagreed, with what I was doing, that they're like, no, you should be charging more. That's my give back. And I'm spending people that, are $175 a month or $200 a month that are support plans. They get 1 hour of consulting. We don't touch their books. We're running their payroll. I'm running their 75%, numbers. We're doing those calculations that will be overwhelming for them. I'm having, every week an hour-long call with them on how to help them, strategically to get through this, whatever it's going to take. And I'm not tracking any of that. None of that's going to go up because that's my give back, because I know I'm doing so much more. Now, that said, if I actually had a client approach me and talk to me, again, if they're a good client, I'm not saying I wouldn't try to defer or try to, do something to meet them part way, but I'd have to look at that at a client per client basis. And I'm lucky, knock on wood, that I'm showing enough value and trying to help them get enough of the aid to be able to easily pay my services. So that way, when they have to come down to choose, hopefully I am not one of those that they have to make a decision on, so that's my
offering more value for the same price is a completely different conversation than an automated software that is getting the same amount of revenue for the same amount of effort, no matter what, across the board. It's a totally different scenario.
Well,
You know,
Tanya and I have
I
had
agree.
this conversation earlier about, I spent probably the last 3 weeks crazy amounts of time, really all non-billable. And, my clients are in need, so helping them get the reports and helping with PPEs and everything else. And I've only lost 2 clients. I'm very fortunate. I've only lost 2. But surprisingly, I've gained 3 in the last week. So it's incredible what comes back. It really is.
well, it is
My
because
clients have been very good to me as far as broadcasting, what I've done for them and helped, but it does come back to you.
well, and you know what? And that's a great point because I've had a conversation with one of my clients. His girlfriend owns 1.5 of our the Tim Hortons is here in town, and I've called him. I've had a few conversations with him, and he's got me on speakerphone. She's like, "Can I ask a question or two?" No problem. I answered her questions. And he said to me when I talked to him last week, I think it was, he says, I just want to tell you that after we hung up, his girlfriend was like, "Holy crap, your bookkeeper's amazing." Her account, and this is last week, as of last week, her accountant and her bookkeeper have not even returned her phone call or her email.
Yeah.
So
No.
those of us that are trying to be proactive and help our clients through this and do that give back, you know what? At the end of the day, whether you're an accounting professional, whether you're a software company, whether you're any business, at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own actions and our own choices. And the public will make that very clear as to whether that was a good choice or a bad choice.
I'm so surprised. So my clients' accountants, obviously, they don't employ me. I'm not, I don't work for them. I work for my clients. They work for the clients. They've been reaching out to me saying, "How's it going? How are you doing?" I know the extra level of expectation that's been put on you right now because we're in the daily grind. They're not. They're the after fact, or they're like specific high level questions. But like we're in the daily grind of like keeping them up to date with the texts and the calls, and this is what the government said today, and this is what you can do right now, and like they're reaching out to me and asking me how I'm doing, and being at my reach. It's been so great. It's been so great.
And that just shows you've got a good relationship with them, and that's like. It's interesting. So because when we got into the cloud, we were kind of forced to do some changes, and I've seen all these, and this is really what we kind of go through like in boot camp is I think anybody knows my background. My first career is not accounting. My first career is insurance. I've been dealing with audits and income taxes since 1997. So it's not like I'm new to this. I chose not to get in and just to train people, kind of on bookkeeping through like ledgers and Excel sheets. And I've only been doing the actual bookkeeping, all hands in, full service bookkeeping for 10 years. However, because my background is customer service, everything I've done is customer service. Even while I was growing the tax business, I worked for a telecom company, customer service. If you take care of your clients, they will take care of you. And you have to look at that. This is a service business. And I think as we've evolved into the cloud, we're able to do that more instead of look at what we used to do. You're being given, data up, 60, 90 days too old. You're not able to service. So now in the cloud, we're able to do that. And again, end of the day, you service your clients properly. You treat them as clients. You look after them and look after you. It's about the relationship. So Bianca, you've got an awesome relationship with your clients, and that's great.
Oh, totally.
And that's where we need to be. But I'm not surprised considering, what tree your apple fell from and what your mother's been saying for years too, right? So
I kind of fall into the Fulton family tree dynamic. I came by it very honestly.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome. So I just have to ask this before we run out of time too, real quickly. We're probably going to go over. I said I would ask this. So Matthew, what's this about a hot green thumb?
About a what?
A hot green thumb.
Oh.
You have no idea. Sherry Lee Mather says, fun fact, Matthew Fulton has a hot green thumb.
Oh, like a garden? Do you have a good garden? Are you growing vegetables?
I'm like, where is this going?
If you don't want to say out loud, that's okay.
No, I love it. No, I love it. It's totally cool. I just had to get on the same page for a second there. So one of my ways of relaxing is I like to build stuff and do stuff with my hands. And part of it has been rebuilding my backyard. I built a raised bed garden in my backyard a couple years ago. And I always plant a lot of peppers Because peppers are harder to kill.
That's where the hot comes in.
You can't even grow them here.
Unless you have rabbits.
I've literally had my pepper plants have been providing peppers all year long. And this last season was basically like my first full season with the new beds. Got great sunlight from it. And I had tons and tons of peppers. And he sent a whole bunch of them up to Tiffany for her husband to make like his spicy jams and such. And we just share tips back and forth. I should really say she gives me tips. I don't think I give her any tips.
You give her peppers.
Sherry Lee, she's amazing. She's been giving me guidance on how to try to better take care of my pepper plants and get more yield from them, because she had a crop and a half. She could feed everybody with those things.
Oh yeah, totally. If we get stuck, I've already said to her, because we talk several times a day. I'm like, yeah, if the world blows up, I'm coming to her place.
Yeah, I get there faster.
I know, right. But no, and that actually makes a lot of sense, because I've seen videos of you where Linda has challenged you to eat lots of hot food, and you do it, and I'm like, oh my God, like you just must be a sucker for punishment, but you just have taste buds that like
making people laugh. That's really what it is.
Like your taste buds can obviously handle it. You obviously like hot, spicy food if you're growing hot peppers.
I got really lucky that when I went to India at first, I think I had a bit of like sinus congestion or something. So I'm eating stuff and everybody's like, it's not too hot for you. I'm like, no, I love spicy stuff. I love it. And then when I was there, I ended up getting sick, ended up having to get antibiotics. And after that, I started eating some food and it was so much hotter. I just never told anybody. So I think the heat was being blocked because I just couldn't sense it. But I mean, I normally love spicy stuff. I put pepper on my pepper, that type of thing. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We should have a sub gardening group, because I'm into gardening big time. My mom is. Yeah, it's so fun.
I love doing that stuff. You guys have heard of the tower gardens before, right?
Yes, I've just recently, not until last week though.
Oh, as a method of gardening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, when I was just barely getting started with Parkway, I had to do things to keep my mind like going and useful. So I took one of those big blue barrels, and I saw online where you could basically cut slots into it, and then you take a 2x4 and you basically heat it up and pry it out to make these different pockets. And then I, of course, saw a different video that was talking about how you do like watering, a self-watering container. So I took the top, put it in the bottom, had wicking through it, had a decomposting pipe that went down the center of it, and put all these things all into one to make it to where I could just build my entire garden. And the thing was amazing. But I forgot to take into consideration the weight of the soil in there too. So it was cool, except for the base wasn't very good. So now it's in the trash, but it was cool.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. So there we go. So you started the tower garden. You just
no. I stole it from YouTube.
Oh, did you? Okay.
It's funny how you even automate your garden.
Who was it just the other day on Facebook actually just received theirs? The shipment came and they were unpacking it. Oh, who was it?
Laura Savad?
No.
I saw somebody. Yeah, somebody.
Yeah.
Right. I remember I saw it too, and I can't remember who it was.
I want to get one of those tower gardens, a real one, instead of trying to build it myself this time.
It looked pretty cool. It looked really cool, actually, when she was unpackaging it all.
So Afsana, I don't know if you know Afsana, Matthew, she says that authentic Indian food is way, way hotter than what we're used to. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was tasting it when I was in India, so I think that's pretty authentic at that point. But yeah, it was good. Loved it.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks for letting me join.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, so it's 4:30. So yeah, we can call it a day. And I think this is the first time that we probably ended on time in a long time. But thank you for joining us, Matthew. Come join us anytime. Like I say, I'm sure Lillian and Deb and Jessica will be happy to help kind of even our US counterparts out with the Canadians. That way it's not all Canadian talk, because I feel bad for them sometimes where Canadians take over Canadian talk, asking Canadian questions. So
Canadian half the time anyway, so.
You know what? We all walk on 2 feet. We all put our pants on one leg at a time.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for everybody who joined us live. Thank you for all of those who joined us and came into the comments. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great weekend and try to, do some walking, do some, some gardening, something to get yourself out of this headspace and try and get some relief and get yourselves in a better health headspace. Mentally happy. Oh,
Yeah.
You.
Pets make everything better.
Yeah.
Oh, the
They really
baby.
Oh, I already showed my puppy. I can't show her again.
I can't lift mine up. She's a beagle, but she's never lost her baby weight. So
Yeah.
that's what I like to say.
hashtag
She's a round
enabler. Hashtag enabler.
You know what? Okay, I'll just say this really quickly. It's on purpose. It's by design because when we first got her, they're so smart. Like dogs are smart, but I'll tell you that this beagle, wow. So she figured. So we've got a huge backyard. One fence or one property line is 700 feet. One is 500. One is 400. One is 300. We're like a baseball diamond shape. So there was only like a couple of fences when we got here. We're like, oh, we don't want to put all that into it because we gutted the house and we threw 40 grand into renovating it. And we're like, we'll wait for that. 6 months after we got here, we get Rosie. And so we get to our first summer. So we put an underground fence, like the bark collar fence or whatever, not the bark collar, the underground wire electrical fence. She figured out within about a week and a half that all she had to do was back up, get a good run. She would get zapped. It would be hilarious to see her midair get zapped and she'd drop on the other side and just go running through the neighborhood. Oh my gosh. So then we're like, okay, this is not going to work. So we built the fence. What does she do? She goes under the fence and digs to get out. So we're like, okay, we don't have to put the collar on. Now we've got all of these digs. But the good thing is that through 90%, she ends up in somebody else's backyard. We've got 9 backyards that we border on. So she ends up in somebody's backyard. So then we're like, okay, now we have to do both to keep her in because of course I'm working from home. I can't be chasing her around all the time. So then she figured out, it took her a couple of months, but she figured out, I watched her one day, I was out on the deck working and she was just in and out, just kind of weaving in and out of the fence, trying to figure out what's going on. All of a sudden she goes in and I see her go under. She wore her battery down. So she is fat by design.
So she can't get under the fence.
Exactly. But yeah, that said, through this whole quarantine, so she's been good for like 5-6 years because she's 10 now. Through this whole quarantine, she has now decided she's had enough of being quarantined and she's going over into the neighbor's backyard because I guess they've got a mole or something over there. So she's following the scent. But
you literally have like half an acre. Why on earth does she need more room?
I know. We have rabbits. We get a ton of rabbits. There's so many scents. She's outside all summer just following the scent. We've got rabbits. We've got the birds, cackalatter. We've got squirrels. We've got chipmunks. We've got.
Well, it kind of is what beagles do.
It is. So that's why I say I'm not an enabler. She's fat by design.
Do you have a Find My Dog on there, Matthew?
They have GPS trackers that you can do, actually. I would strongly suggest you put one on your dog just so you can be alerted anytime it goes outside of the zone and you wouldn't have to go looking. You can just...
And that's actually a really good idea now because that's it. Well, now, mind you, now that she's 10, she likes to stay in a little bit more. She's become, a little bit more of a sloth, I guess.
She knows where the treats are.
So it's only if she gets a scent, but we kind of sit there and just kind of watch for her. And then we know she's not back at the door in 10 minutes for snuggles and a treat. She gets a treat every time she comes back on her own. And she gets no treats when she doesn't. So
now, does the dog realize it's getting a treat because it came back on its own? So is it leaving and coming back to get the treat?
She will go outside.
What are you rewarding, actually?
She'll go outside. I caught her pretending to pee just to get a treat. And I'm like,
I got back in the yard.
There's nothing coming out. And she comes back for her treat. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Say bye-bye.
Anyway.
Say bye-bye.
Bye, Marlo.
By design.
Bye, Marlo.
Anyway, thanks so much, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.